Not too long ago, Donald Trump called his political enemies vermin. Now, there's a specific historical reason why people kind of freaked out over that a little bit. Let me just play the clip for you so you have an idea of what I'm talking about, and then we'll get into it.
Of our great veterans on Veterans Day, pledge to you that we will root out the communists, Marxists, fascists, and the radical left thugs that live like vermin within the confines of our country, that lie and steal and cheat on elections.
I think it's fascinating that there's lackluster clapping after he said that, right? Listen again.
Fascists and the radical left thugs that live like vermin within the confines of our country.
Usually at this point, people would be clapping their hands off, right? They'd be clapping them raw. They're down to stubs at this point. It's kind of weird to me that people aren't clapping at this, and I have my suspicions why.
That lie and steal and cheat on elections. The threat from outside forces is far less sinister, dangerous, and grave than the threat from within.
All right, now let's talk about this. Why did people freak out about Trump using the term vermin? The reason that I believe people kind of freaked out about it, the reason that I think the people in the crowd didn't really clap their hands into nubs like they usually do, is because the word vermin, specifically to refer to your political enemies, is so closely linked to Hitler, it's ridiculous. At this point, it cannot be unintentional. It can't. There's no way Trump is just, by happenstance, using these terms, and it just so happened that Hitler used the same exact word. There's no way. And if that doesn't convince you, I've got a couple other clips to show you that should. People talk about videos of bulldozers shoveling bodies into mass graves in World War II. That's what's in our history books. We all know about that. Everybody remembers seeing that stuff, right? But we don't talk about the lead up to it. We don't talk about how they ended up in that place in the first place. We don't talk about the fact that Hitler started demonizing the Jews all the way back in, honestly, the 30s, the 20s even, but 1932 is when it really started in full. From 1932 to 1937, there was extreme prejudice, extreme language. This is the way that a genocide ramps up. This is not our only, World War II is not our only example of a genocide taking place. And in every single case, this is the first step. Let me try to establish that for you. Guy named John Zimmerack, and he went on Eric Metaxas's TV show, or his whatever it is, I don't know, YouTube channel, I don't know exactly what it is. Well, anyway, Eric Metaxas and John Zimmerack are both extremely influential people, right? Well, they're talking about the white genocide that's not even happening, but you know what? That's not what I'm here to talk about. Listen to what John Zimmerack, this far-right extremist, has to say about genocides and how they ramp up. By the way, this came out mid-September 2022.
When the Nazis attacked Jewish stores and got away with it, that told people persecution, real genocidal persecution is down the road. Right now in America, our government and the leftist institutions that support it, from the Ivy League to large numbers of churches, to the mainstream of the Republican Party, which supports it by being afraid to fight it.
This is just like fever dream delusion stuff, but that's not what I'm here to talk about. Just keep listening here.
It's reminding me of the build-up in the 1990s in Rwanda, the build-up towards genocide.
He's about to describe the Rwandan genocide. If you're unfamiliar with this and how it all played out, he'll give you kind of a piss-poor explanation. I'll correct and just give it a listen. Two tribes, the Hutu tribe, the Tutsi tribe, Tutsi, they were brothers and sisters. There's really no difference between the two tribes of people, except for the differences that the British colonizers at the time drew between them. They separated the tribes into tall and lighter skinned and short and darker skinned. Seriously. It's like separating people into like blonde and brunette. There's no reason to separate people that way. But anyway, the British separated them, and then they put their tribes on like their licenses, their driver's licenses, and their certifications and their whatevers, so that the British had a record of who was from which tribe. That'll be relevant in a second. Just listen to his description. Quick interjection. This won't take long. I just want to say, if you want to support my channel, the best way you can do it is by watching this video to the end, or at least watching a little bit longer than you would have otherwise. YouTube's recommendation algorithm works off of watch time. You can also subscribe to the channel, like the video, and check out my Patreon. Link is in the description for that. All right, back to the video.
Build up towards genocide. The Hutus were the majority, but they weren't as wealthy or successful as the minority Tutsis. So
he says Tootsies. Isn't that a movie with like Tom Hanks or something, Tootsie? They weren't as wealthy or successful. No, they hadn't been placed in a position of authority over the other tribe by the British.
They resented them. They wanted their stuff. They wanted their power. They wanted their money.
He's putting himself into the position of the Tutsis, you realize, and framing it as though he's rich and the enemies are poor and they're coming after me. Just ridiculous persecution complex, but it's a valuable lesson. It's valuable to look at other genocides and how they started, even though this guy is just an absurd, ridiculous human being. But okay, keep listening here. Sorry. I'll try to stop stepping in. It's just too much.
Wanted their money, and they started demonizing the Tutsis, calling them cockroaches on radio shows. News hosts would refer to Tutsi cockroaches.
You remember Trump saying vermin? Cockroaches, vermin, rats, all common names for your political enemies when you're ramping up into a genocide. As time went on with the Tutsis and the Hutu, there came a point where the dam broke, if you will, and the Hutu radio shows said it's time to cut the tall trees. Of course, the British, having separated the Tutsi and the Hutu into tall and short, darker skinned and lighter skinned, cutting the tall trees meant taking out the Tutsi tribes. So the Hutu broke into British buildings after the British just kind of withdrew. They left. They were like, all right, I'm out. I can see what's happening here, and I want no part of it. So see you later. They left. The Hutu went into those British, office buildings, government buildings, found the list of the Tutsi tribe members, and went house to house with machetes. I just really want to draw this out for you, try to make it clear what happened. It was an impoverished nation, largely. They didn't have much money. So Hutu tribe members gave Tutsis an option. They would either kill you with a blunt object or a machete, or, if you wanted, you could purchase a bullet from them that they would use on you instead. There were priests who were hiding Tutsis in their churches and stuff, and then betraying them, locking the door to the church and lighting it on fire, and picking off anybody who ran out, that kind of thing. It was real ugly stuff, and it went on for 100 days, and everybody in the world just sat back and watched. They didn't say a thing, they didn't do a thing, they just let it play out. The wars that take place in underdeveloped African countries largely revolve around that conflict today. Rwanda is cooled down a lot, but, Democratic Republic of Congo, for example, DRC, I think it's called. There's a lot of warring happening between those two groups of people to this day. So anyway, just one more example of the ramp up to a genocide. The Rwandan genocide had people calling each other cockroaches and rats. Hitler was calling Jews vermin and cockroaches and everything else. This is how it ramps up. And again, if you don't believe me, I've got more. Trump went on a far-right, you can't even call it a news network, I guess pundit network, I don't know. He went on this network called the National Pulse and gave them an interview, right? Now, just listen to what he says here, because this is yet another thing that you can expect to find in genocidal environments. By the way, Kitty Mom says it was with Dustin Hoffman. Thank you for that clarification. Dustin Hoffman was apparently the guy that played in that movie. So this video with Trump came out October 4th, 2023.
You could go to a banana republic and pick the worst one, and you're not going to see what we're witnessing now.
The worst banana from the Banana Republic? You can pick the worst banana.
No control whatsoever. Nobody has any idea where these people are coming from, and we know they come from.
He's talking about immigrants right now. We have no idea where they're coming from. Yeah, we do. We know exactly where immigrants are coming from. The U.S. has an absolutely incredible and robust immigration system built out. Like, other countries don't have the type of immigration system that the U.S. does because they're not bringing in as many immigrants. By the way, immigration is phenomenally good for a country, for an economy. Russia is paying Russian women right now to have baby after baby after baby, as many as you can have. I think it's like $10,000 per kid or something right now, because adding people to an economy is extremely valuable to any economy, right? We don't have to do that. We don't have to, as Americans, we don't have to birth our way into a good economy and maybe we'll have one in 30 to 50 years. We don't have to do that. We've got people trying to join the economy right now. Immigration is so incredibly valuable. There's one reason, one that I can think of, why people would be opposed to immigration. And Trump outlines it pretty clearly here. Listen to this.
People are coming from, and we know they come from prisons. We know they come from mental institutions.
It's completely made up. All of this is made up.
Insane asylums. We know they're terrorists.
No, they're not. Just fabricated nonsense. It's fear-mongering.
Nobody has ever seen anything like we're witnessing right now. It is a very sad thing for our country. It's poisoning the blood of our country.
And that's it. That's what I was talking about. It's poisoning the blood of our country. Does that sound familiar? If you're not familiar with World War II, let me just give you a Hitler quote for you. Jews and migrants are poisoning Aryan blood. That is entirely too on the nose, right? Who says poisoning the blood of our country? Who came up with that saying? It's too close. It's too closely linked to what Hitler said to be a coincidence. It's too closely linked to Hitler's quotes for Trump to refer to people as vermin. It's just unrealistically coincidental at a certain point, right? Like, one of these alone was too coincidental. Thing after thing after thing is too much, man. I just don't believe that this is an accident. This piled on top of the fact that Trump's ex-wife claimed that he had a copy of Hitler's speeches on his bedside table, kind of starts to put puzzle pieces together a little bit for you, right? How about this one? I got another one for you. This one is from October 22nd, 2018, a little bit of an older clip. Listen to what Trump says in this one.
And I told all of the European nations it's not fair. We have all these horrible trade imbalances. They take such advantage, they're not taking advantage anymore, folks. Under Republican leadership, America is winning again.
We were not winning at the time.
America is respected again.
No. People were literally laughing at us.
Because we are putting America first.
You can see a Women for Trump sign in the background. That's actually a cult, a full-blown cult that's existed since the 70s or 80s, I think, led by a woman named Jane Whaley. I talked about it. It's a group called Word of Faith Fellowship, I think. I forget the name of the group now. I did a whole video about them, about Women for Trump. Just look it up on my main channel if you want to see. Weird how cults kind of gravitate to Donald Trump, right? Is that weird to anybody else? Anyway, that's not why we're here. Just keep listening. While Trump inhales and does this kind of deal right here. How does he do that? How does he do that face? I'm trying really hard. I can't manage it. I think this is close. All right, keep listening here.
We're putting America first. It hasn't happened in a lot of decades. We're putting them first.
He sounds drunk. That's weird. It's kind of scary, honestly. When somebody sounds drunk when they're very obviously not drunk, maybe you should worry about their health a little.
We're putting them first. We're taking care of ourselves for a change, folks. Thank you. I like that guy, but not that much. Not that much. But
What does that mean? Is he saying he's not gay or what?
radical Democrats want to turn back the clock toward the rule of corrupt, power-hungry globalists. You know what a globalist is, right? You know.
Yeah, I've heard Alex Jones. I know what a globalist is.
Right? You know what a globalist is? A globalist is a person that wants the globe to do well, frankly, not caring about our country so much. And you know what? We can't have that. You know, they have a word. It sort of became old-fashioned. It's called a nationalist. And I say, really, we're not supposed to use that word. You know what I am? I'm a nationalist, okay?
He knows he's not supposed to use the word, quote unquote. Now, why aren't you supposed to use the word nationalist? I mean, nobody's stopping you from using the word nationalist. Feel free to. But when you use the word nationalist, you're linked to Hitler. Hitler used the word nationalist. That's how he described himself. How many coincidences do I have to show before everybody realizes that Trump is trying to use the tactics of Hitler? He's using the verbiage of Hitler. Seriously, it's not a coincidence at this point. You can't convince me. It's not just the fact that Trump uses the same words that Hitler used. Those keywords: vermin, cockroaches, nationalist, poisoning the blood of blah. It's not just that. He is actually propping up white nationalist, Aryan, if you will. Use that word. It's effectively the same thing. He's propping up Aryan movements. You know, I feel like white nationalist has kind of lost some of its teeth, but when you say Aryan, it kind of connects a little bit more, right? Listen to him promote this Aryan activist, I guess, Laura Loomer.
Really taken the country by storm. Very powerful person, very strong person, very courageous person, a warrior. Laura Loomer. Laura, where are you? Thank you, Laura. Great job you do.
Okay, so who is Laura Loomer? Laura Loomer is close friends with Kanye West. I'm taking you down a little bit of a rabbit hole here because I want to show you how all these people are linked, the ideas that they share with each other, and the conversations that they have and things like that. Kanye West went on Alex Jones' TV show, his, InfoWars, whatever, to talk about how much he loved Hitler. Donald Trump praises Laura Loomer, as you just saw a minute ago, and Trump actually had dinner with Kanye West and Nick Fuentes, a known self-avowed Aryan Nazi. Kanye West is behind this mask. He decided to wear a mask when he went on InfoWars. But listen to what he had to say here. This was December 1st, 2022 when this happened.
I don't really care that much about Hitler. I love him. Seems like...
You just do it as a way to troll?
No, he seems like a cool guy. It's like he.
Listen to the fake laugh from Alex Jones. He's not trolling. He likes Hitler.
It's like he had a really cool outfit and stuff, and he was a really good architect. And
so you're in love with the.
Alex Jones is so desperate to find some way to make Kanye West not a Nazi. Okay, he's a Nazi. That's just what it is, man. I don't throw that word around lightly. Kanye West is a self-avowed Nazi. He identifies as one openly. Tells you, I am a Nazi.
With the look of it.
And he didn't kill 6 million Jews. That's just...
Yes, he did.
It's like factually incorrect.
Guys, get the Ronald Reagan clip they showed me yesterday. Sorry, go ahead. Ronald Reagan said that too. Well, I think Hitler did target and kill some people. So I think,
I think Obama killed Palestinians.
No, I hear you. Here's where I think the frustration is. And Nick, you can comment on this.
And Obama was not the first black president. He was another Jewish president.
Oh my God, dude. He hates Jews. Seriously. Kanye West hates Jews. If that's not enough, we just really drive this home for you. Check this one out. The same interview, December 1st, 2022.
Seriously, I've really studied a lot of history. Plus, I had family that was there. And so, I don't think Hitler was a good guy. I get the Hugo Boss uniforms, amazing.
No.
But just because you're in love with the design, you're a designer. Can we just kind of say, like, you like the uniforms, but that's about it?
No, there's a lot of things that I love about Hitler. a lot of things.
How does it get clearer than that? I watched the entire interview, the whole thing, and I took notes on all of it. I actually pulled this clip from the interview, this next one I want to show you. You're not going to find this like anywhere else unless the person watched the entire 2-hour-long interview themselves. But listen to this one, same interview with Kanye and Alex Jones.
Laura, we're live. What's up?
Laura, huh?
This is Laura Loomer.
I'm watching live. I saw you just said that you wanted me to call in, so I'm calling in.
Well, how does she have your number?
Well, she called me because she had some concerns about Milo running my campaign.
I'm not on the whole Jew thing. It's what I'm saying. I don't care.
Laura Loomer, shouted out by Donald Trump, is close friends with Kanye West, who also had dinner with Donald Trump. Weird, right? I wanted to drive the point home and really like draw all of this out so you can see what's happening here in real time. Here's another thing that Donald Trump did that's nearly identical to what Hitler did. This is on Reuters, an extremely trustworthy source. Trump plans sweeping undocumented immigrant roundups, detention camps, New York Times reports. Reuters reports this November 13th, 2023. Washington, November 11th. Reuters. Former U.S. President Donald Trump, if re-elected in 2024, would expand his first-term immigration crackdown to include sweeping roundups of people who would be held in large camps to await deportation, the New York Times reported on Saturday. Is this sounding familiar? Putting people in camps? Really? The report was based on interviews with several advisors, including Stephen Miller, another self-avowed Aryan. I mean, that's how he describes himself. Again, I'm not calling people these names just because I'm angry with them or something. That's how he describes himself. As Stephen Miller was Trump's immigration advisor or immigration coordinator or whatever you call it during his administration. So the New York Times interviews Stephen Miller about it, who oversaw Trump's first-term immigration policies, the Times said. It describes Trump's plans as an assault on immigration on a scale unseen in modern American history, and said, I guess they had to say in modern American history, because there was a time when the U.S. was just sweeping through the Midwest and going all the way to California and killing every Native American along the way, you know, Trail of Tears stuff and everything. Could you call that like an immigration crackdown? I mean, they were here first, so I don't know. Anyway, I mean, this is just one more example of Trump using words that are the exact words that Hitler used. Maybe his plans aren't exactly the same. Maybe he doesn't feel the same. I don't know. I feel I've shown enough evidence to be comfortable saying Trump seems to feel the same as Hitler did. But either way, he's using the same language, and it is beyond coincidence at this point, in my opinion. If that doesn't do it for you, let me just show you one more video. One more, okay? Now, I covered this video in full on my channel a while back, but this really ties everything together really well. So let me just show you a few minutes of this video so you get an idea of what it's about and why I feel the way that I do. It's called Don't Be a Sucker, and it is by the United States government, designed to show people the ramp-up period into death camps in Germany in World War II. Hitler didn't just start shoveling bodies into mass graves. There was a ramp-up. So the title is Don't Be a Sucker, and in the opener here, I'm just going to skip it and explain. They're showing people being suckered by others, right? And the idea is it's easy to fool somebody and trick them into doing what you want them to do. Here's the main character of the film, I suppose, or one of the main characters. This guy is on a train, and the narrator comes in and says, he's got America. But there are people who stay up nights trying to take that away from him, too. So listen from this point. Guy gets off the train, and he's walking through the public square. By the way, this was produced between 1942 and 1948, right before the war ended and then immediately after the war.
Who stay up nights figuring out how to take that away from him.
America.
I want to give you the truth, folks. The truth about America. I know you've got a lot of questions. You want to know why you're not getting the breaks you deserve. Well, I'm not a politician, but I've made it my business to study these things, and I happen to know the facts.
This is populist language, by the way. That's what we're listening to right now. This guy is using populist language, the same exact type that Donald Trump used. I mean, really think about what's being said here. And think about how it relates to and connects back to Donald Trump.
Now, friends, I'm just an average American. But I'm an American. And some of the things I see in this country of ours make my blood boil. I see people with foreign accents making all the money. I see Negroes holding jobs that belong to me and you.
You hearing this about immigrants, people who are lesser than you taking your jobs? This is exactly what Hitler did. Again, this is produced in between 1942 and 1948, and it was written and performed by people who were there in the square in Germany watching this happen. They are portraying exactly what happened in Germany in the 1930s, the ramp-up period.
Now I ask you, if we allow this thing to go on, what's going to become of us real Americans?
I've heard this kind of talk before, but I never expected to hear it in America.
This fellow seems to know what he's talking about.
Yes, he knows all right.
So this guy on the right is from Hungary and goes on to describe what it was like in Germany when he saw this happening before. 1932, before Nazis had full control of everything, this was during the ramp-up period. This guy describes what he saw. Again, this was actually written and played by people who saw it, who were actually really there. Now listen to him describe it here.
Not classroom theory. I saw it happen. I saw it first in Berlin in 1932. 5 young men that I knew were standing in the crowd listening to the Nazi speaker. Eric was a Catholic. Anton, a student of mine, was a Jew. Heinrich owned a small hardware store. Karl was a farmer. And Hans was an unemployed metal worker.
To all true Aryan Germans, I say it is time you inherited the nation which rightfully belongs to you. To you alone belongs the glorious destiny of the greater Germany. The Nazi Party will provide land for the farmer, work for the worker, and profits for the small businessman. Who is getting these things now? The Jew. The Jew who has stolen our nation and our birthright.
A little known fact, Jews were not the only ones targeted. A lot of people were. There were different signs. So Jews had to wear gold stars on their jackets to identify themselves. This is before they were shipped off to death camps or before even the Jew hunt took place. They had gold stars, and then they had Jehovah's Witnesses had like purple triangles, political prisoners, socialists, Marxists, I don't know, Darwinists probably included in there, communists. They had red triangles that they wore. I mean, there were different types of people that Hitler viewed as a risk to his power and authority and had shipped off to a place where they could never say what they knew or what they believed or felt. As the famous saying goes, first they came for the socialists and I didn't speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists and I didn't speak out because I wasn't a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews and I didn't speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me and there was no one left to speak for me. Martin Niemöller said that apparently. I hope I pronounced that name correctly.
Who makes all the money and takes all our jobs? The Jew! He must be shunned. He must be ostracized. He must be eliminated.
So Jews were like the focus of this whole thing, but it was other people as well, not just the Jews. And you'll see that here in a second.
And the Catholics. We don't want our great nation run by a foreign church. We Germans will know what to do with these people when the time comes. They and their faith must be destroyed. Then there are the Freemasons. In Germany, we have no place for secret societies. There will be only one society, and that is the Nazi Party. There will be no secrecy about that in the new Greater Germany.
One by one, he attacked each minority and he split them off one from the other. These men were all fellow Germans when they came here today. Now they were split into rival groups, suspicious of each other, hating each other.
So if this is portraying the ramp up period, right? If you want to know what happens next, you can watch my 2 videos. One of them is about this. It's called, I think everybody should see this film from 1945 or something to that effect. And the other video I produced is we're at step 9 on the steps to genocide or something like that. Just go through my channel and find those. I'll put links to them in the description. Anyway, the point is, I mean, we could step forward and watch how Hitler gathers a makeshift army of what he called brown shirts. He didn't even have to command an army. It was just a group of people that really loved Hitler. You know, kind of like the Proud Boys with Donald Trump, who were willing to go in and rough people up and do psychotic and pay the legal price for it. Why not? They're doing it for their God Emperor, as they call Donald Trump. Again, not being flippant. That's what they call him.
There were trade unions to be smashed because unions were organized and might offer resistance. There were many political parties in Germany. These the Nazis destroyed.
They would just commit acts of vandalism, or they would destroy things, smash things, they would paint over things, rip down posters, whatever. Yeah, it's illegal, but who's going to stop them? There are too many of them doing this stuff in the first place. That's the next step. I mean, we're already there, honestly. Remember Donald Trump getting his supporters to put those stickers on gas pumps that said, "I did this," with Joe Biden pointing to the gas pump or the gas price? There's just one example of light vandalism that was supposed to contribute to Donald Trump's success. And with Donald Trump repeating words that Hitler said, direct translations of what Hitler said, I don't know what else to do here. I don't know what else to call this. Are these really coincidences? You cannot convince me that when Trump says things like this, it's a coincidence.
The communists, Marxists, fascists, and the radical left.
I mean, those are the things that Hitler listed as things he hated also, right? I mean, is this like too on the nose for anybody else?
Marxists, fascists, and the radical left thugs that live like vermin within the confines of our country, that lie and steal and cheat on elections.
Insane. Insane. It's simply too on the nose to convince me otherwise. And you know what's really, really sad about this entire situation, honestly? First of all, I don't want this to be like a downer video. I want you guys to understand that we are winning. Trump is losing. That is the case. But we have to keep fighting. We cannot stop for a second, because if we stop for a second, that's what we have waiting for us on the other side. We must continue fighting this. But here's the truly sad part about this. Greg Locke, famous pastor I talk about regularly, talked about this in his book that he wrote also. I read his entire book on my Telltale Reads YouTube channel, by the way, if you want to give it a listen. But I split it into like 17 chapters or something. But this is what Greg Locke had to say about Nazi Germany. Listen to this. This was from July 6th, 2022.
Hitler had silenced the church. Bunch of cowardly pastors wouldn't stand up to all of his shenanigans and his wicked nonsense. And by the way, let me stop and say this. Here's what people say all the time. Well, if I was back then, this is what I would do. You know what you would have done then? What you're doing now. And for most people, it ain't nothing.
Well, we know exactly what Greg Locke would be doing. He supports Trump to his dying breath. He has expressed extreme support for Donald Trump. We know what Greg Locke and his church would do in World War II. He would have been there on the front lines as one of Hitler's brown shirts. There is no question. We know. Anyway, let me know what you think about this in the comments. These people are psychotic, man, and you cannot convince me Trump isn't doing this on purpose.